I need to tell you today something that might make you uncomfortable, but it's something you need to hear. And I'm going to say it with the same love and honesty that my father would have shared with you. If you don't change, nothing will. Now, I know what you're thinking, Alfonso. I've heard this before. I know I need to change, but do you? Do you really? Because if you truly understood what those words meant, if you really grasped the power behind them, you wouldn't be sitting where you are right now, feeling the same way you felt 6 months ago, a year ago, maybe even 5 years ago. My name is Alfonso Freeman, and today we're going to have a conversation that might just save your life. Not in the dramatic movie script kind of way, but in the quiet, desperate way that most lives need saving. From mediocrity, from settling, from the slow death of accepting good enough. But let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. When was the last time you looked in the mirror, really looked, and liked what you saw? Not just your reflection, but your life reflected back at you. I'm not talking about your appearance, though that might be part of it. I'm talking about looking at your life and seeing someone who's living up to their potential, someone who's growing, someone who's becoming. Most of us, we avoid that mirror. We distract ourselves with our phones, our jobs, our problems, our excuses, anything to avoid that uncomfortable moment of truth where we have to admit that we're not where we thought we'd be by now. You remember when you were younger? Remember those dreams you had, those plans, that person you were going to become? What happened to that person? I'll tell you what happened. Life happened. But that's not the real tragedy. The real tragedy is that you started believing that life happening was an excuse for stopping your own growth. You started believing that circumstances were stronger than your choices. Well, here's what I learned from watching my father, Morgan Freeman, navigate decades in Hollywood, facing rejection after rejection before finding his breakthrough. The mirror doesn't lie, but it also doesn't have the final word. What you see today isn't what has to be there tomorrow. But first you have to be willing to look, really look. Not at your circumstances, not at what happened to you, not at what you don't have, but at what you've been choosing day after day, choice after choice. Because if you don't change, nothing will. Change doesn't happen to you. Change doesn't visit you like some unexpected guest. Change is something you do. It's a decision you make. And then make again, and then make again. Every single day. I remember a conversation I had with my father years ago. I was complaining about something. I can't even remember what it was now. Some situation I felt stuck in, and he listened patiently, the way he always does. And then he said something that stopped me cold. He said, "Son, you're talking like you're a passenger in your own life. Passenger, just along for the ride, hoping the driver knows where they're going. Hoping the destination is somewhere you want to be. But you're not a passenger, you never were. You might have forgotten, but you're the driver, you always have been. Every single day, you're making decisions that are taking you somewhere. The question is, where? You want to know the most dangerous place in the world? It's not some war-torn country or crime-ridden neighborhood. It's your comfort zone. Oh, it doesn't feel dangerous. That's what makes it so insidious. It feels safe. It feels predictable. It feels comfortable. But comfort is where dreams go to die. You see, your comfort zone isn't really comfortable at all. It's just familiar. And we human beings, we have this strange relationship with familiarity. We'd rather stay in a situation that makes us miserable but that we know than risk a situation that might make us happy but that we don't know. Think about it. How many people do you know who complain about their job every single day but never look for a new one? How many people do you know who talk about their dreams but never take a single step toward them? How many people do you know who say they want to change their life but keep making the exact same choices they made yesterday? That's the comfort zone prison. And the truly tragic thing about it is the door isn't locked. It never was. You can walk out anytime you want, but you don't. Why? Because change is scary. Because growth requires discomfort. Because becoming who you're meant to be means leaving behind who you've always been. I get it. I really do. I spent years in my own comfort zone prison. You know what it's like being Morgan Freeman's son? There's a certain expectation there, a certain path that people expect you to follow. And for a long time, I tried to follow it. Even when it didn't feel right, I stayed in situations that weren't serving me because they were familiar. I made choices based on what other people expected, not what I truly wanted. I was living my life like I was trying to fill out someone else's blueprint. But here's what I learned, and this might be the most important thing I tell you today. Your comfort zone isn't protecting you from failure, it's protecting you from success. Because here's the thing about change, real change, it's not comfortable, it's not easy, it's not predictable, but it's the only way to grow. It's the only way to become. It's the only way to live a life that's truly yours. You see, most people think change is about making one big dramatic shift, like in the movies. One moment of truth, one grand gesture, and everything transforms. But that's not how real change works. Real change is quiet. Real change is daily. Real change is in the small choices you make when nobody's watching. The choice to get up earlier. The choice to read instead of scroll. The choice to have that difficult conversation. The choice to take that first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. Martin Luther King Jr. said that about not being able to see the whole staircase, but you have to take the first step anyway. That's faith, that's courage, that's change. Now, let's talk about the stories, because we all have them, those stories we tell ourselves about why we can't change, why we're stuck, why things are the way they are. I'm too old, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the right connections, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, it's too late for me. You know what those are? Those aren't reasons. Those are excuses dressed up as reasons. And the most dangerous thing about these stories, the most insidious thing, is that they feel true. But just because something feels true doesn't make it true. Just because you believe something for a long time doesn't make it fact. I want to tell you about my father's story. Morgan Freeman didn't get his big break until he was 50 years old. 50. Most people in Hollywood are considered over the hill by then. Most people would have given up. Most people would have told themselves the story that it was too late. But he didn't. He kept showing up. He kept growing. He kept changing. He kept believing that his time would come, even when everyone around him was telling him it wouldn't. And you know what? His greatest roles, his most memorable performances, his most significant impact, all of that came after he turned 50. All of that came after the age when most people decide they're too old to change. So when you tell yourself you're too old, when you tell yourself it's too late, remember that. Remember that some of the most beautiful transformations happen in the second half of life. Some of the most powerful changes happen when we finally stop making excuses and start making. But let's talk about the story that might be the most damaging of all. The story that says you're not worthy of change, that you don't deserve better, that somehow you're fundamentally flawed or broken or not enough. If that's a story you tell yourself, I need you to stop right now. I need you to hear this. You are enough. You always have been enough. You don't need to earn your worthiness. You don't need to prove your value. You don't need to be perfect to be deserving of a better life. But you do need to change. Not because you're not enough as you are, but because you're capable of so much more. Not because you're broken, but because you're growing. Not because you have to, but because you can. And that's a completely different story, isn't it? That's not a story about limitation. That's a story about possibility. That's not a story about what's wrong with you. That's a story about what's right with you. See, every story you tell yourself is either moving you toward change or away from it. Every narrative you carry is either empowering you or imprisoning you. Every belief you hold is either opening doors or closing them. So what stories are you telling yourself? And more importantly, are they true? Or are they just comfortable lies that keep you from having to face the beautiful, terrifying possibility that you could actually change your life? Now, here's something most people don't understand about change, and this might be why so many people fail at it. They think it has to be dramatic. They think it has to be perfect. They think it has to be complete. But that's not how change works. Change doesn't happen in grand gestures. Change happens in moments, in choices, in small daily decisions that seem insignificant but add up to transformation. If you want to change your body, it doesn't happen in one workout. It happens in the decision to take the stairs instead of the elevator, to drink water instead of soda, to go for a walk instead of watching another episode. You want to change your mind? It doesn't happen in one meditation session. It happens in the choice to read something meaningful instead of scrolling through social media, to listen to a podcast instead of gossip, to think about possibilities instead of problems. You want to change your relationships? It doesn't happen in one conversation. It happens in the choice to really listen instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, to be present instead of distracted, to love instead of judge. See, we've been conditioned to believe that change has to be overwhelming to be real, that it has to disrupt everything to be meaningful. But that's just not true. Some of the most powerful changes in my life started with the smallest shifts. I remember deciding to wake up just 30 minutes earlier each day. That's it, just 30 minutes. But in that 30 minutes, I started reading. Then I started journaling. Then I started planning my day instead of just reacting to it. That one small change, 30 minutes, led to a complete transformation in how I approached my life. Not overnight, not dramatically, but gradually, consistently. Because here's the secret about small changes. They're sustainable. They don't shock your system. They don't require you to become someone completely different overnight. They just require you to become slightly better than you were yesterday. And that's something anyone can do. That's something you can do right now, today. You don't have to quit your job to start changing your career. You could spend 15 minutes a day learning a new skill. You don't have to move to a new city to change your environment. You can change how you see your current environment. You don't have to become a completely different person to change your life. You just have to become a slightly more intentional version of who you already are. But here's the catch, and this is important. Those small changes have to be consistent. Consistency is where the magic happens. Consistency is where transformation lives. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's not about never failing. It's about never giving up. It's not about dramatic results. It's about daily commitment. Because if you don't change, nothing will. But if you change just a little bit, consistently, daily, intentionally, everything will. Not all at once, not dramatically, but surely, certainly, powerfully. We're coming to the end of our time together, and I want to leave you with something my father taught me, something that changed how I see everything. He said, son, every moment of your life, you're choosing. Even when you think you're not choosing, you're choosing. Even when you feel like you have no choice, you're choosing. The choice might not be about your circumstances, but it's always about your response to your circumstances. Right now, in this moment, you're choosing. You're choosing whether to really hear what I'm saying or to dismiss it. You're choosing whether to let this be another video you watch or a turning point in your life. You're choosing whether to keep living the same patterns that brought you to this moment of searching for something more, or to finally decide that enough is enough. Because that's what this is really about, isn't it? You wouldn't be here listening to this if some part of you wasn't ready for change. Some part of you knows that there's more. Some part of you is tired of settling. But knowing isn't enough. Being ready isn't enough. Wanting isn't enough. You have to choose, and then you have to choose again, and then you have to choose again. Every morning when you wake up, you're going to have a choice. The same comfortable patterns or something new. The same comfortable excuses or uncomfortable action. The same comfortable you or the you that you're becoming. And here's what I want you to remember on the days when it feels hard, and it will feel hard sometimes. Change isn't about perfection. It's about direction. It's not about how fast you're moving. It's about whether you're moving at all. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to feel uncertain. It's okay to not have all the answers. But it's not okay to let fear make your choices for you. It's not okay to let uncertainty keep you stuck. It's not okay to wait for all the answers before you take the first step. Because if you don't change, nothing will. Your relationships will stay the same. Your bank account will stay the same. Your health will stay the same. Your happiness will stay the same. Your sense of fulfillment will stay the same. And is that really what you want? Is that really the life you're here to live? Is that really the legacy you want to leave? Or do you want something more? Do you want to grow? Do you want to become? Do you want to live a life that's truly yours? If you do, then the time is now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when everything is perfect. Now. As we end today, I want you to do something for me. I want you to make one small choice right now. One small change you can make today. Maybe it's putting your phone down an hour earlier tonight. Maybe it's having that conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's taking a walk instead of watching TV. Maybe it's writing down one goal you've been thinking about. Whatever it is, make it small, make it doable, but make it real. And then tomorrow, make another one. And the next day, another one. Because that's how change happens. Not in grand gestures, but in daily choices. Not in perfect moments, but in imperfect action. Not in someday, but in today. Remember, if you don't change, nothing will. But if you change, everything can. The choice, as always, is yours. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Thank you for being willing to look in the mirror. Thank you for being ready to grow. Now go and change your life.